Hey, Coach. So glad you found the video. Couple things. First of all, make sure you subscribe and like. Second thing, go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better. Let me show you how to put a roadmap and become a nationally ranked coach. I've done it for 30 plus years. Let me help you do that over at teachhoops.com. Let's head off to the video.
All right. Welcome to Coaching Youth Hoops.
That was a
Coach,
new intro.
you
I
like
like
that?
that new intro. That was just smooth.
That's
Yeah,
smooth. I've been
that was
practicing.
smooth. We got
As it
yeah,
happens when you do 3,000 podcasts and
right. Yeah,
you
you
know,
should be exactly an expert. That's a
and
new podcast, How to Start a Podcast by Steve Collins.
ooh, yeah. I tried to start one with teacher side gigs because I have lots of side gigs, but
Yeah,
no one during COVID, but no one seemed to want to.
no, nobody
That
listened to it.
didn't really go anywhere. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
I pivoted.
All right,
I,
Coach. What are we talking about today?
Great topic today, checklist. But before we do that, we need to give a big shout out to
Game
Game Changer.
changer.
Yeah, ooh, that was in unison. That was good. Game Changer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, coaches, if you haven't checked out Game Changer, go to gc.com/coaching youth hoops. It's a great team management app. Your players can check in for games if they're going to be available. You can sync it to your calendar. You can communicate with your team, track RSVPs all in one place. Simplify your life this season. Go to gc.com/coaching youth hoops. Check it out. It's free.
Yes. Yes. And grandma can watch the game in Wyoming, like Coach
That's
Collins
right.
always says. Yes. All right. So we're talking about checklists. And we're gonna
Checklist.
share a checklist with them later.
That's right.
But so preseason or season checklist, right? Things that we kind of need to
Yes.
think about.
Yeah, things you need to think about when you're starting your basketball season and what you need to prep for. Um, and just, it's we're right there, right? That's right around the corner. So time to start thinking about what you're going to do. Uh, so the first thing that always comes up is, of course, are the tryouts, right? Uh, Tryouts is a huge thing. Uh, and that's what we get the most questions about. How do you do a tryout? What's in a tryout? Uh, how do you effectively evaluate your player? So I guess that would be my number one, is to think about your tryouts and how and what kind of team you want to put together. But of course, that team that you want to put together is based on your strategy and your philosophy,
Yeah, I
right?
think there's lots of moving pieces, but I think one of the most
There
important
is,
things
yeah,
is picking your players
yeah.
and picking if you're going to have someone help you, because you're
Mm-hmm.
basically kind of picking your quote unquote family at that
Yeah,
point.
right.
They're going to spend a
Yeah,
lot of time with, so you got to make sure you're kind of on the same page. Um, so, and then I think there's subcategories to picking your team, like how committed are the kids? Can they make it to practice? Where are practices going to occur? How many times a week are they going to happen? You know, are they playing soccer and hockey and lacrosse and
right.
like and I think all some of those things fall under like team policies and things that you need to think about is like um how are you going to handle missed practices? How are you going to handle when you have and then off of that is strategy is like what happens when you have four kids at practice.
Right, right. Better have a
um
plan for that, right? Because it's
y-
going to happen.
it's going to happen, somebody gets a cold or something, and then sister's got a dance recital and they got to go to that. So I think there's the administrative bucket, which is a big bucket, I think.
Huge bucket of things
Yep.
you have to, yeah.
Especially early. So if you can find somebody to help you with the administrative part, like,
Yeah,
where you're going to be staying and if you're going out of town, where you're going to be staying, or, food, or what are you doing between games, or,
yeah.
what can people help with brides? Because they're not 16. You're listening to the wrong podcast if they're 16. They're not youth anymore. But I
That's
think
right.
I think some of the administrative things I tried to pass the buck on when I was doing it. you know, some of those like forms getting filled out, money collected, and food, and all those kind of things that can happen with a youth team.
Yeah,
So I think that anything else in that administrative bucket.
I'm sure there's a lot of stuff, right? That, that we're
Well,
not thinking about right now, right?
I know
It's all in the checklist though. So
it
we'll
is.
probably, yeah, so you can go
It is. And you
check
could
that
use
out.
Game Changer, right? Could you use Game Changer? They have some stuff that you can do admin stuff in there, right? Can you
Yeah, with your
communicate?
team management. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you can do team management with that, and uh, players can check in, right, if they're going to be at the games, so you get a heads up if they're going to be at games or practices. So absolutely.
yeah. And that's
Uh,
what's the URL on that, coach, again?
that's gc.com/coaching youth hoops.
And it's free. There you
That's
go.
free.
That's
Yeah.
free. So that's bucket one for me. Bucket
Yeah.
two for me is strategy or
Yeah.
X's and
Sure. Yeah.
O's.
Yeah. Yeah.
How are you going to deal with those?
Well, and just thinking about, well, like, if you're a brand new coach, even if you're a seasoned coach, it's like, well, let's start with a brand new coach. Like, who are you as a person? Like, what kind of, you got to start thinking about an offense. Maybe you were a former player where you kind of we're going to score within the first, 15 seconds that we have the ball, or are we going to, lull our players to sleep, or the defense to sleep, and then try to score off of that. So kind of just understanding your philosophy, and finding the right pieces to match that philosophy. Again, let's talk about offense, and then of course the defensive side, right? What are you going to be, a full court press? Can you full court press in your league, right? That's in, what grade? Of course, some of these things you won't know exactly until you have the right players in place, but you got to start rounding the corners a little bit on this strategy, so you have some idea, narrowing it down to a few things that, one, you're comfortable running and it, and so you can start prepping for it.
Right.
But that was the first thing that came to my mind.
I was talking to a third grade coach from Arizona yesterday, the day before
Mhm.
yesterday. And he was trying to figure out what are the key, like you have to think about what are your key components. Like he was trying to figure out, he had an hour practice once a week, and then he was trying to get
Oh, that's
another
the other
hour.
thing, right?
It's
Yeah.
like, so what, like I told him to forget about shooting with third graders. I said that should be lower on your, what you should be working on is, movement and dribbling and passing, and because they can't even make a pass from cross court kind of
Right.
thing.
Right.
So it's not about X's. You got to spend a little bit of time on X's and O's, but at that age, it's fun. It's development. It's small-sided games. It's competitive. It's all of those things. So I think as you're at whatever level you're coaching, I think you have to think about the nuances of, here's your
Of that
fixed
age, right?
that
Yeah.
age and that
Yeah.
fixed amount of time that you're going to have.
Yeah. Do you have an hour? Do you have 2 hours every week? Is a little bit more, right? Than you, yeah, no, that's really important too, right? You can't get too sophisticated if you only have an hour of practice. It's just not real. It's not
Right. And
realistic.
I told him, I
Um,
said, a less than a third of that practice should be on like X's and O's and out of bounds play. A less than a third, probably at
yeah.
third grade. Uh, um,
Eighth grade, you can do a little bit
yeah,
more, and
yeah, yeah. They're
teaching
basically in high
plays, and
school in
then,
eighth grade,
yeah,
so it's like
exactly.
they're still youth at that point. Um, So then I think another thing, I think those are my two big buckets. There's sub buckets like, scouting or game prep. There's all sorts of subcategories, I think, off of this. Or how are you communicating? Because they're third graders or sixth graders. How are you communicating with the players and the parents? Like, what are you
Right.
using to communicate? What are you doing as far as changes in practice time? In Wisconsin, it snows. Some
Right.
practices get canceled.
Right.
I don't know what happens. What happens out in, do you get hurricanes? What do you get in
Rain. I mean,
rain?
wind,
Rain out. You get a rain out like a
rain out.
baseball team
Yeah, I get a rain out. It
in middle of
happens.
December?
Yeah. Not too much
No.
though, obviously.
Okay. Okay.
So,
I can't imagine.
yeah.
What else, coach?
Okay, well then, I mean, if you bring up a really good point of, who are you coaching by age appropriate? But then, okay, now I have a just general idea. What about my practice planning, right? I got to start thinking about how many months in my season, how many times per practice. So I need to be ready with a practice plan. And we all know, if you've been listening to this long enough, you know where you can get your practice plans at coachingyouthhoops.com. We got it all thought out for you. But
That
definitely
was
something
really
that you need
good,
to.
Coach. Hold on. I got to
appreciate
commend
that.
you on that. That was smooth.
All right.
That was
2
like,
claps for Coach Flitter.
yeah.
There we go. Yeah. That's what we
No.
do in our practice. 2 claps.
Snaps.
You do snaps?
Snaps.
And we do claps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. That was excellent. Nice. That was, yeah. That was a soft sell, people. Soft sell.
Yeah.
I've
But
got 2
the
kids in
practice plan
college.
is probably the most important document that you can have in the season, just so you stay organized and you don't show up with like, I don't know what I'm going to do today. You got to use that time effectively, and a practice plan will help you. Let's just quickly talk about the components of that practice plan, right? Just break the game down into, offense, defense, transition to offense, and transition to defense.
You've heard
And
that
then
somewhere. Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
yeah. And then just fill in the blanks from there. We're not going to, we'll go deeper in future episodes, but on practice planning for sure, because it is something that,
I think we
it's an
should
art,
spend a
so
month on that. To be
not a
honest with
bad
you.
idea. Yeah.
Again, this is just me talking to Bill at this point. All of you just sit and listen, think about the meaning of life for a second.
Yeah.
But I think we should do that. I think the listeners would enjoy that. Where can they find the checklist?
Yeah,
We have a
coaches, head on
free.
over to, it's free. Yeah, it's just a checklist to give you, some things to think about, start organizing. But if you go to coachingyouthhoops.com/season-checklist. One more time, coachingyouthhoops.com/season-checklist.
All
And we'll
right.
put it in the show notes.
I'll put it in the
so
show notes. You'll
that-
be able to find it wherever we are. Anything else,
But if you're
Coach?
listening, now's the time to start thinking about the prep, so you're not doing it the day before you have tryouts.
Yes. Do not do that. Do not do that. All right. Till next week, Coach.
The next week.
Hey, Coach, so glad you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed it a lot. Actually, if you did, subscribe and like, and then go over and check out teachhoops.com for coaches who want to get better.